Let me set the stage. You're at a club and you see an attractive stranger sitting across the room. You lock eyes with one another. You meet in the middle of the dance floor and embrace one another. The air between you is thick and heavy. Eventually, things escalate and you both sneak off to the dirty, dingy bathroom for a passionate and quick encounter. You begin to wonder, is this really what I wanted? Or was this a better idea in my head? Welcome to the Pleasure Prism. My name is Victoria, and I will be your guide in helping you shine light on intimacy, relationships, and cultural factors shaping the world around us and how we interact with one another. Today's topic is fantasy versus pleasure. Let's hop into it. Fantasy. Have you ever been sitting in bed after playing video games for hours and the thought comes across your mind, I wonder what would it be like to have sex with Venom? I haven't.
No, no, wait, it's not what you think.
I haven't. But that's a fantasy. A fantasy is any of a range of mental experiences and processes marked by vivid imagery, intense of emotion, and relaxation or absence of logic. A sexual fantasy is mental images or stories of sexual activity not constrained by such real world issues as partner availability or setting and situation, which I found to be very interesting that they specifically said partner availability. These two definitions basically mean that if the thought comes to your mind and brings about an intense emotion and lacks a sense of logic, which kind of notates the inability to actually perform these things. So it's very much just a mental idea. Like it's not, there's no action items that can be taken for you to accomplish these goals, right? Take for example the person that wanted to have sex with Venom, whoever the fuck you are. They literally can't because they're a fictional character. There's no possible way to have sex with the character Venom, Eddie Brock, whoever. There's no possible way to do that. Like it's just not possible. A brief history on fantasy. The understanding of women and their sexuality has been a very understudied topic when it comes to research, and there's tons of points of misinformation as well as debunking ideas that we once understood. So, like, while doing my research, I came across the myth apparently that because I fell down the rabbit hole of like looking at the history of vibrators somehow. And there was apparently a misconception that Cleopatra of Egypt created the first vibrator by emptying out a gourd, like a vegetable, or it's a vegetable, and filling it with bees, live bees. And you can imagine what she did. And so, and also to another wide misconception about vibrators is the fact that doctors from the 19th century were treating so many women for hysteria using their fingers, and they got tired. So they decided to create a device that would allow for them to not have to manually help women with hysteria. They just wanted to nut off. Basically, the women did. It's hard. It's hard in the 19th century, I can imagine. So that was interesting. But wrapped in these ideas is just this concept of women wanting more. At a point, women were once believed to not have any sort of sexual fantasies. That was only for men. Only men thought of having sex with people. Which the amount of people that I talk to now, women that want it, is kind of wild that they only thought men wanted it. Maybe they were just excusing like how shit they were at sex, and they were like, huh, only men want it anyway, she don't care. At this point, there's no denying that both men and women and everyone in between and outside of the binary wants to have sex and has sexual fantasies. Even to an extent, asexual people, some of them, not all of them, have a desire for sex sometimes. Not all the time. Depends on the person, but that's. Moving on to desire. Desire is defined as to long or to hope for something. Sexual desire, specifically, is the sum of the forces that lean us toward and away from sexual behavior. This study states that sexual desire consists of drive, biological, motive, individual or relationship psychology, and wish, cultural components. That was a 2003 study. I still feel like it's pretty relevant. This means that sexual desire is the longing to do something sexual, but taking into consideration drive, motivation, wishes, and it's more grounded in reality, right? So fantasy is this fantastical, fictional idea that you have. There's no action items behind it necessarily, while desire has action items and is like a strong longing for something. So an example of desire would be if somebody wanted to have sex in a car. The thought is grounded in reality. If you have a car, if you have a partner, there you go. Logistics. You can do it. It's achievable. If you put your brain to it, it's achievable. To me, I felt like sexual desire and sexual fantasy were used interchangeably rather than to denote two distinct things, right? So when you look at fantasies that most people have, they seem to be more rooted in reality, which aligns more with it being a desire. But when you put fantasy, use the word fantasy. I also was an AP English person, so I like to look at connotation, diction, all that stuff. So when you use the word fantasy, it kind of makes it sound like, oh, it's not possible. While desire makes it sound like, oh, I have a desire for ice cream. I have a craving for ice cream. Like, it's this thing that you can put action items behind. I just need to go to the store and grab some. I just need to DoorDash some. I need to steal it from this kid that's walking down the street. I need to chase down the ice cream man. Like, it's these things that are, do they still have ice cream trucks? I don't know. I think so. Because they are both still thoughts. It's just that one has action items and the other not so much sometimes. This kind of made me think about the like the romance novels back in the day. They had like the super buff strong man that like had the flowing hair and the biceps and was like holding the very fragile and frail woman, and like those sorts of like romance novels, which a lot of the time I saw them in Walgreens, which was kind of weird to me. But for whatever reason, like, I'm here to pick up medication in a candy bar. Like, yo, raunchy. Within these fantasies, women might see this strong man that's like on a boat or something. He's rich. This might not be their life. And so this concept also does not just apply to women. This is for everybody. These people might be craving these sorts of stories, not simply because they want the fantastical elements of the story, but instead they're like, oh, I wish, maybe my husband was strong. I wish that, I did live in a mansion. I wish that our sex life was this spontaneous. Like, it's these different elements that culminate in a desire, right? But because we don't have, a lot of the time people don't want to voice their fantasies, and so they can never turn to desires, which never turn to reality. And so they stay as fantasies, even though it's something that is attainable, in my opinion. So within this, because you're not voicing how you feel about something, you just kind of end up with the same boring thing all the time. If you've been married to your partner or whatever for the past 40 years and y'all just been doing missionary the whole time, I mean, no shame in the game, but if you're bored of it and you don't say anything, then nothing is going to change. You're going to keep doing that for forever. And your partner's just going to think that you're having a grand old time. Who knows? They might be bored. But it's about speaking up and having communication. Through the research, a lot of people feel as though their fantasies are weird. Like, they're strange, they're weird, they shouldn't have these, they're just not okay. I found a study from 2015 that surveyed 1,516 people. 799 were women and 717 were men. The researchers wanted to see how rare and uncommon people's fantasies were, and they only found that 2 sexual fantasies were rare for men or women. 2! While 9 others were just kind of unusual. So 11 total fantasies were like, huh, that's it. That's it. The 2 fantasy outliers were having sex with children under the age of 12 and having sex with an animal. Both of these are crimes. Both of these are crimes. So as long as you don't do that, you're good. You're good. We're not going to make those action items. No. You will be arrested. Very swiftly. The 9 specific fantasies that were popular amongst the this was a very binary study. So for women, the specific ones was urinating on a partner, being urinated on, wearing clothes of the opposite gender, forcing someone to have sex, abusing a person who is drunk, asleep, or unconscious, having sex with a prostitute, and having sex with women who have very small breasts. I found that one to be very interesting. It kind of spoke to like a power play sort of situation to me, like some level of dominance. Like, and I guess having sex with somebody with small breasts, like it makes me think of like, I guess like closer to like I don't know, it makes me think about like very small men, like almost like boys, like almost kind of. Yeah, I don't know. It just speaks to me as far as being like a power thing. Men were pretty straightforward. Like it was urinating on a partner, being urinated on, having sex with 2 other men, and having sex with more than 3 other men. A level of almost the opposite of women. Like, yeah, like kind of a sense of like submission or like wanting to give over to, like, I don't know, like almost the opposite of women. Like women are looking for power and like strength, while the men are looking for like submission from themselves to submit to somebody else. Now, granted, I don't know, the study didn't go into what the dynamic was between 2 or more men, and how they interacted with the participant that was responding. But I found that to be very, very interesting. So submission for men, or for men, and for women, power. For both of the sexes, the typical fantasies that were held were feeling romantic emotions during sexual relationship, fantasies in which atmosphere and location were important, and fantasies involving a romantic location, receiving oral sex, and having sexual intercourse with 2 women. Submission and domination themes still run between the lines of these. There was another study in 2023, a Glamour article, and they took a survey to investigate what people's fantasies were. They reported 7 of the most common sexual fantasies. They did not go over what the demographics of the study was, and if they did, I might have missed it. But these were the categories: multiple sex partners, so example threesomes, BDSM, being dominated, dominating someone, bondage and sensory deprivation, novelty, adventure, and variety. When I first read that, I was like, what the hell does that mean? Infidelity, public sex, sex in an unusual location, sex with a celebrity, sex with a stranger, roleplay, and cosplay. Taboo activities such as oral sex, anal sex, sex with a professor, sex with somebody younger, sex with somebody older, exhibitionism, and voyeurism. I plan on making a video on like kinks and all of that, so look for that video soon if you don't know some of these terms. And the other one was passion, romance, and intimacy, sex with an ex, and sensual massage, which honestly, everybody should be down for a sensual massage, to be honest. Backs be hurting. Monogamy, non-monogamy, cuckolding, gender bending, and homoeroticism, so pegging, gender swapping, and lesbian sex. Looking at the two studies, the themes of domination, submission, elements of gender swapping, passion, romance, and intimacy, various locations of oral sex seem to be the most common kind of trends, which I had to question it. Are folks not getting head no more? Like, that feels like anytime I talk to somebody that's my age, that just kind of comes with the territory. Like, you're not gonna get away from giving head, which I find it very interesting. That I was talking to a family member and they told me that back in the day, you would, or the husband would hire somebody else to give them specifically head instead of just asking their partner, because it was supposed to be, or their wife, because it was a taboo thing to do. Which, like, I can get it, you know, maybe you see it as like dirty or something like that. Like, I can get that, but like, you're giving money outside of the house. I don't know. Like, I find that very interesting that the pendulum has shifted to the other side, but yet the study from 2023, like I said, I didn't see any demographics, so I'd like to know how old these people are, how old they are, what's their sex, or gender identity, and their age. Like, I would really like to know. I don't know. That's wild shit to me. Like, folks ain't getting head, like, in 2023, fresh off the pandemic. To me, these two studies highlighted sexual fantasies, but really I would say that they're sexual desires. If we're using the previous definition that we talked about earlier, sexual desires have action items behind them. None of these fantasies that were said, I don't see action items behind. Getting oral sex, being a part of the BDSM community, or just doing the BDSM, or voyeurism. I don't see how any of these, now don't get arrested. The only two that you can actually get arrested for that are crimes is bestiality and having sex with a minor. You will get arrested. Don't do that. There's action items behind them. Don't do that. No, I'm not an advocate for that. No. You know, I see action items behind every single one of these. Now, is it safe to do? Like, if you have a sexual fantasy of shoving a light bulb up your butt, I wouldn't, because it's not safe. But you can. You can. I just wouldn't. Just be safe. Be safe. So yeah. So how do we bring these sexual fantasies into desires and therefore into reality? This section is more of my opinion with facts that I've read over the years, such and such. First thing, there is no particular order, but number one, think about your sexual desire or fantasy in a logical sense to determine if it is really a fantasy or is it a desire. So for instance, having sex in the car. It might sound fun, but if you have a Mini Coupe and your partner's 6'4", there might be some logistical issues that need to be worked out first. Even for some fantasies that seem out there, I think there's still a way to accomplish them. Like earlier, the weird person that wants to have sex with Venom, it's possible, kinda. It's not Venom, it's not Eddie Brock, but at the same time, if you have a willing participant, a willing partner, and they're cool with donning all black in a bodysuit and getting a black tentacle or something, then you got to be creative if you want it. There's action items behind that. Communicate with your partner. When discussing any type of sexual desire, fantasy, non-sexual or sexual, it's important to maintain an open line of communication with that person. Discuss boundaries, discuss safe words in case things get a little out of hand and a little too intense, so everybody knows what boundaries that should and should not be crossed. So everybody can have a good time. That's the whole point. We're here for a good time, not a long time. So enjoy yourself. Make sure that everybody is willing. Make sure everybody is safe. Like I just said, be safe. Understand that there are some desires that are logistically impossible, and might not be safe. Like I said earlier, if you want to stick a light bulb up your butt, you probably can, but should you? It's probably not the safest thing to do. And just side note, if you're sticking anything up your butt, please make sure it has a flared base. You don't want it to get sucked up in there, because it will. There's been look at ER stories and stuff. There's tons of them because people aren't using flare bases. Just saying. It's also okay if you end up doing your sexual desire and it doesn't feel exactly the way that you thought it was going to. Have you ever been like craving a specific type of food and you just really been wanting that food? Like you could just imagine how it tastes and like everything, and then you finally get it and then it just doesn't hit, or it's like really mid. Like sometimes that can happen with sexual fantasies, and that's okay. Like the piece earlier, communication with your partner and talking with them so they can understand, okay, what can be changed and tweaked. And almost like a gym routine, you can tweak a few things and do some things different, so that way you can kind of get the desired results that you want. And that's most important. And then that can become a part of your kind of consistent sexual adventures and romps with your person. Take your partner's feelings into consideration. Your partner may not exactly be on the same exact sexual wavelength as you, and that's okay. But just make sure to, if you can, and it doesn't necessarily compromise your desire, incorporate some of their desires into it. Communicate with them, see what their sexual fantasies are, turn them into desires, turn them into reality. And so that way it's a joint experience for the both of you. Who knows? Their desire may be something that you hadn't thought of, and it was something now that's interesting to you, and now you both can share that experience together. And so it's a nice coming together thing. Have fun. I don't think I need to say that. Have fun. Please have fun. Dear Lord, have fun. Don't get caught up in the specifics of it. If your, desire is, I have to be in this red room and strapped high to the ceiling with black ropes in Japan, maybe some of that is fantastical. If you maybe are low income or something like that, and you can't afford a trip to Japan or a velvet room, then maybe we can look at things that are a little bit more grounded in reality. So the black rope, if you specifically need a black rope, then we can go get that. Taking the elements that are integral to your desire and making those bits reality. Lastly, this falls within the communication piece, but do a recap with your partner. At the end of the thing, check in with them. See how it was. Was it what they expected? This isn't just for the partner who experienced the desire, but for both parties. Hey, was this something that, you want to keep up? How was it? How was I? Check in with them, see what maybe can be modified next time. Who knows? Maybe this is a desire that became reality that you kind of just aren't feeling anymore. Like at the beginning with the story with the person having sex in the bathroom. They thought that it was hot and attractive, but then once they actually did it, they kind of realized maybe this isn't something that I really wanted to do. Maybe I didn't think this thing through all the way. So, doing temperature check-ins with your partner is important. Not exactly asking them to rate you, or rate them on how they did, but just, getting a temperature check. Was this good? Was it not good? Just open line communication. That is always integral important. If you want information on communication and that sort of thing, the BDSM community is very good for that. Like, I've been saying that for years. It's a very good community on open communication and that sort of. Sexual fantasies don't just have to stay in your head, but instead, take inventory with yourself, acknowledge what you want from that fantasy, what you're looking for, and that fantasy, that idea can then migrate into a desire. And once you work out the logistics of it, the desire then can turn into reality. And that can help to spice up your sex life, your confidence, and even help with your communication with your partner. Sexual fantasies don't just have to stay in your head. Through the power of willpower and creativity, love, encouragement, communication, those sexual fantasies can migrate from being a desire to reality. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you stayed until the end, please comment a kiss emoji down below so I know that you stayed, as well as let me know what your sexual fantasies are or your sexual desires. What have you done? Cheeky person, cheeky. I'd love to know. Also too, let me know if you learned something today. If this piqued your interest and would like more content like this, if you just like the vibe, then please subscribe and hit the notification bell so that way you are alerted when I upload more videos and other types of content. I also have a Instagram page that is linked below in the description box. And I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.